It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman in the seat until Vince Colonnese takes over with the Vince Show coming up in 1 hour. I am reminded of a day when the, famous, infamous, whatever, Bob Huggins was named the head coach at Kansas State to be the basketball coach, and they asked him, how good can you make this program? And he said, first is available. And I'll never forget that quote. It was one of the most famous things he ever said, and I would just say to Pete Mundo today, Pete, first is available. Congratulations to Mundo in the Morning. They're the number 2 morning news talk show in America, according to Barrett Media's poll of executives around the country. Pete mentioned it a couple times on his show today. Number 2 out of all of them is really, really good. But I got to reel Pete in just a little bit here. First is available. It's available. Let's go. Next year, let's go. Let's find the way to number 1. Congratulations. What he has done with this radio station is nothing short of remarkable. Mark's been a huge part of it. John, huge. I'm very, very, very small in any of this. I do think it's pretty amazing, and Pete and I sort of have a correlating path, I guess you would say. At about the same age, I was 32 when I left television and went into radio as one of the co-founders of Union Broadcasting and started the first sports talk station in Kansas City. And it was a build-out. It was, okay, this is brand new. We got to build this from the floor up. And as Pete said earlier today, when he took over at KCMO Talk Radio, you can't, no matter what he does, he can't make it any worse. Well, sports radio couldn't have been any worse than when I started in it. So it was low-hanging fruit, I'll tell you that. It still was a lot of work. Advertisers didn't believe in the format. Big companies like the one I work for today, Cumulus, and their previous owner, Susquehanna, and Odyssey, which used to be Entercom, they didn't believe in sports talk. They liked doing 4 hours of sports in the afternoon, doing news all day, and then 4 hours of sports in the afternoon. That was it. Nobody really believed back in the 90s in the format of sports talk radio. And I did, and we did. In fact, we had trouble hiring people at that station and getting them to come work for us because they didn't believe it was going to last. They just weren't sure. Sometimes you got to be a risk taker, and what I admire about Pete is, yes, he got hired, but they basically said, you got to do this. This is your deal. Make something of it. And boy, has he. And yes, one of the measuring sticks is when you're recognized nationally by executives and program directors and people around the country as having the number 2 morning show in the country. That's outstanding. But I think what Pete is most proud of is he's kind of taken, I don't want to speak out of turn. I haven't worked for this company very long, and I really don't know the people that run it in other places. I just know the ones in Kansas City. But I know this, it wasn't much, and now it's a thing. And Pete has been promoted to Vice President of Talk for Cumulus Media, which is a nationwide position. I speak with people around the country at other radio stations that Pete is sort of their boss and helps them program their stations. He's really something. He underplayed it today, his role, and Mark's role and John's role. He mentioned them every single time, but Pete's pretty remarkable, and he's been doing this. He took over in Kansas City at this radio station about the same age I was when I started doing sports talk. So we have that in common. The more I listen to him, the more he listens to me. I know that we just disagree on a whole bunch of stuff, which is crazy because we're both conservative. But, man, we see things in a different way, which I think is great. I think it's actually very good for the listeners to hear differing sides of certain topics and maybe a different way of looking at the world. Maybe it's age, maybe it's where he's from versus where I'm from. I don't know, but I think it's great. And he challenges me every day with the things that I hear him do on his show, challenges me every day to have more material prepared for this show than I could ever possibly use. We will start today. Well, first our tip of the cap and our congratulations to Monday. But we start today with the story of this Olathe school district wanting $389 million for, quote, immediate needs. One of their immediate needs that they need money for, are you ready for this, is declining enrollment. It's right on there. It's right in what they're asking for. We need $389 million because we have fewer students. What? Okay. So I'm mad. Olathe Schools is my kid's school district. They all went there. They all graduated from Olathe Northwest. It was a pretty good school district. I had an issue from time to time, but nothing like now. They didn't have furries, okay? They didn't have walkouts where they went and protested ICE on a street corner that teachers organized. They didn't have all this liberal DEI bullcrap that's in all these schools, and this is not unique to Olathe. This monologue today is not unique to Olathe. I don't care where you live. You know this is going on in your schools. Gardner's been targeted. We've seen Lee's Summit and Blue Springs, the Northland. Everybody's got this. You're seeing it in your school district because there are whacked out liberal teachers that have gone down the rabbit hole of Trump derangement syndrome, and they're poisoning your kids' minds at a very young age and a vulnerable age where kids go in there at age 15. And what I know this about 15-year-olds because I had 3 of them. They spend most of their life thinking mom and dad are pretty cool, pretty smart, know what's going on, and they respect everything. And then they get to a certain age and they go, that's the last person I'm listening to. Okay? Now, you hope that rebellious streak lasts about 8 months and it's over. But sometimes it lasts longer. And sometimes they find a mentor or a teacher or a guide or somebody in college that brain warps them and turns them into somebody that you don't even recognize. We're seeing this with people all over the country. I spent my whole life voting yes on every dang school vote that came up. It used to be during the regular election. You'd go vote, they'd say USD school, whatever, blah, blah. Yeah, I didn't even have to read it. Yes. The answer was always yes. We knew our kids would be going to those schools, and we knew it was good for property values to have good schools. I don't see that anymore. This is a mail-in only ballot. I've got to vote. I'm getting a ballot in the mail. I've got to vote. Mail-in only is ridiculous and should be against the law. Period. That's it. There's nothing needs to be added. That is not voting for $389 million. Then they tell you that there is no tax rate increase on this one. This is what these liberals do. And that's all this is liberal bullcrap, okay? I'll explain to you some of the stuff they want to spend the money on. This is a joke. If you live in Olathe and you're a registered voter, and it's impossible to believe that there are more Republicans in Johnson County than Democrats, but it's true. There are more Republicans registered in JOCO than there are Democrats, yet they lose every election because Republicans don't vote. This one's coming in the mail, which is a joke. Check no. I don't like telling people how to vote. This time, check no. Here's what this is. They say there is no tax rate increase. It's just going to be the same one. Yes, except the same one is expiring and it's going down. And everybody is going to save money by it going down because they voted yes years ago to money that they've already spent. They built a new high school. We got football fields. We got field trips. We got all kinds of stuff, man. They got new golf clubs. I know a kid at Olathe, he's on the bowling team, man. They got their shirts and their sweet equipment. They got all this stuff. I'm like, no, it's over. $389 million? No, there are no immediate needs. You know what the immediate need is? Clean up the curriculum and stop the BS. And the only way to get through this, we've screwed everything else up as Republicans in Kansas City and really nationwide. We've screwed it all up. We don't vote well. We don't vote for our school board. We're terrible at city councils and mayors. We're terrible at county commissions. We're awful. We're the worst voters in America. We need to look in the mirror and say, what the hell is wrong with us? We're just allowing these. Then we sit around and we complain that there's furries in the school. Well, yeah, we let them have the school board and the teachers union and all these things. What will get their attention, and nothing will, until one thing happens. Until one time in one of these districts, the answer is no, you're not getting the money. Then what happens? If you think the government wastes your money, you ought to see what these school districts do. This is absolutely insane. They're trying to tell you it's a no tax rate increase, except they don't want to tell you your taxes are going down if you just vote no. Make them do more with less, like Donald Trump is doing. You just heard Pete talk about those government numbers. Government jobs way down, private sector jobs way up. Okay? Let's try that at the local level. Let's try it in Lee's Summit and Blue Springs schools and Olathe and Blue Valley and Parkville and all the places around the city. Let's try that everywhere. They have declining enrollment, and they want $389 million more dollars. Why? Oh, they want to move one school into another school. They want to merge two. In two places, they want to merge two schools. That doesn't sound that expensive to me. When you have declining enrollment, I don't think that's the time that you ask for $389 million. This is crazy. We got to stop voting yes for this stuff. Cut the schools off. Cut them off. Make them do more. I don't want the sob stories about, oh, the teacher came the first week of school and she had to buy the crayons for the kids because there's not enough in the budget. You know what? Take that up with the district. You have enough money. They want 389 out of the voters, 389 million out of the voters. They're still going to make those teachers buy some supplies. You watch, because they're grifting. They're scamming. They're scoring. They're doing all this crap. They want to build a brand new school on the site of an old school. Not put some money into it, remodel it, fix it up, maybe repaint the classrooms. No. We want to build a brand new one. And we need better athletic facilities because, hell yeah, we do. Have you seen those football stadiums down there in Texas those schools have down there? Why can't we do that? Well, the answer is you can. With $389 million, you can do a lot. One of the things they listed on there was new air conditioning units. Okay, $389 million for air conditioning. This is insane. I don't even want to know what happens if the Olathe School District ever got audited for real. Like if the state of Kansas came after them. Or I'm not picking on Olathe. Look, it's all of them. It's terrible. We have to learn. We're conditioned to vote yes on schools because it just feels so good and seems to be so right. We got to vote no, at least for a while, maybe for like a decade. Let's vote no until they clean it up because they don't seem to understand why their enrollment's declining. Their enrollment's declining because people are homeschooling and putting their kids in private schools because they don't want to go to a school where there's some kid dressed up like a cat on his hands and knees in the lunchroom drinking out of a bowl like a cat. And they allow it because they can't stop it for whatever reason. No, you can stop it. Vote no on this one in Olathe. Just tell them no. They can circle back next year. If they really need the money and problems arise, we can always fix it with another vote. Just this time, put your middle finger up at these people and tell them no. No, you are not getting $389 million. Tell me I'm wrong. Give me a call, 913-408-7957. That's 913-408-7957. I'm fired up today. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. All right, welcome back to the show. If you'd like to join us, the phone number is 913-408-7957. A final little footnote to the opening monologue today about voting on things like this that are mail-in ballot. I've mentioned this before. I probably don't mention this enough. I have 3 grown children that live in Missouri, Texas, and Arizona. They're all registered to vote in those 3 states. I still get mail-in ballots at my house for 2 of them. So we're going to get 4. It's me and Jessica and a little furry dog. We're going to get 4 ballots. That's another reason this is an absolute joke. I have never, it says punishable by law, whatever, I've never even considered filling one of those out and mailing it in. But I'll bet a whole bunch of Democrats do. I'm just telling you. Mail-in voting is just insane. $389 million. We're going to drop it in a random box. We're going to allow a letter carrier to pick it up. Hopefully, it doesn't get lost in the mail on the way, depending on the zip code in the neighborhood. I live in a very conservative neighborhood. No, there'll probably be a couple lost from that neighborhood on their way somewhere. It goes to the post office. It gets touched by another person. It gets sent into a machine. It goes down a conveyor belt. It drops in a deal that's touched by another person who sorts it out, who gets it, I guess at that point, somewhere on a truck, and it gets sent to another post office where a couple more people touch it. It goes onto another truck, and then, in theory, it goes to the Johnson County election office. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I'm telling you, of all the stupid things we do in this country, no voter ID in elections and mail-in ballots are they're outrageously stupid for anyone that wants to consider themselves a clear, fair, legal democracy or representative republic. It's absolutely absurd. The whole ruse. I could send 4 in on this Olathe vote. They're going to get 2, but I could send 4. And there's no way I'm the only person that's getting extra ballots at their house. Boy, we had a crazy story this morning. This El Paso airport thing, if you haven't heard this, they closed the El Paso airport, the FAA, and said it's closed for 10 days. That's all commercial flights, medevac, everything. They shut it down. The federal government shut it down and said, that's it. no-fly zone, like Iraq or something. It's like no-fly zone. The airport's done. It was closed more like 10 hours. This is scary. El Paso's on the border, and Fort Bliss is right there, which is very close to the border, which is a great place for a military base. And the cartels were flying drones, and they were getting in the way of aircraft, and there was a belief, it sounds like there was a belief, that these things could have had detonators on them or things of that nature or whatever. The cartels are going to do something in this country. They're going to find a way. Trump is cutting them off financially. We have, I think, over 100 now, like not executives, but people in a very high up position with the Mexican drug cartels in our possession. We actually worked with Mexico, and they allowed this. The Mexican government usually just does whatever the cartels tells them. But Trump put a lot of pressure on Mexico with tariffs and other things to get some of these people and remand them to American custody. So they had some of them in Mexico, and they released them to the United States so they could be tried here and jailed here, and we'll never let them out again. So we've got a whole bunch of their most important people now in custody in prison in the United States of America. We've cut off a lot of their drugs and their money, and we've seen what's happening. They closed this airport today. They reopened it, and they put an announcement out that the military has disabled the cartel's drones. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know that they shot one. I don't know if they can jam them electronically. And I'm guessing there's something they could do at the border, assuming that people controlling the drones are on the Mexico side. I assume there's something we can do at the border that jams the signal of what controls the drone and the drone itself, so it would just fall to the ground. That's my guess, but I don't know that. We got a lot of stuff. We learned that in Venezuela when they went and got Maduro. We got a lot of stuff that we didn't necessarily know we had. But that's one of the weirdest stories yet. And it happened at the same time where the Nancy Guthrie abduction story was at a place called Rio Rico, Arizona, which is right on the border, where they detained a dude and apparently had nothing to do with anything. But the one thing nobody's talking about in that thing right now is if they picked him up as a delivery driver, and I think the company is GSL, it's an outsourcing company that does things for it can be as simple as DoorDash, but it can also be Amazon, whatever. They asked the guy, did you ever deliver a package to her house? He said, maybe. I've driven up to Tucson and delivered stuff before, maybe, but I wouldn't know. They didn't really know the case, whatever. But if you're taking anything away from the Nancy Guthrie thing, they arrested a Hispanic man that is a driver for a living. They didn't arrest him. I'm sorry, I misspoke. They did not arrest him. They detained a Hispanic man with the mustache and the little patch below his lip, and he is also a driver. So when I saw those pictures and the video of the guy, the intruder at the house, everybody immediately was saying that's a white guy. I said, well, I can't tell because it's too hard to tell on those things. But he did look more dark-skinned, either olive-skinned or Hispanic or whatever, to me. But that was only me. And I don't see any way you can tell by those things. But the people in charge, the person they detained, was Hispanic. And watch for the hysteria if they catch somebody that's white and they're mad that they picked up a Hispanic man as the very first person. When we come back, the University of Missouri wants naming rights on their football stadium. Why this is wrong on KCMO. Here's what they never ask on these mail-in ballot initiatives. The Olathe School District would like $2,881 per person in your household for the schools. Yes or no? That's the number. I just did $389 billion divided by 135,000, which I think is about the population of Olathe. It's 28. Mark, you got 5 in your house, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's about 11 grand.
Too much.
Too much. They don't ever let us see it that way. It's just crazy. To the phones we go. Here's Dana in Ozaukee, Kansas. Hello, Dana. How are you?
Wonderful, Kevin. So glad you're back on the air. Love your passion. Love it all.
Thank you.
Hey, you nailed it on the head. And I hate to group, I hate to say Democrats and group them all together, but you nailed it on the head. They have this holier-than-thou attitude. Like, they're so much better. But they'll gladly commit voter fraud. They'll gladly commit welfare benefits fraud. They'll gladly commit whatever you want to call the fraud that's going on in Minneapolis. They'll gladly use grandma's Social Security number so they can go DoorDash and kill somebody and still get their unemployment. They'll gladly commit, whatever fraud they commit to get government benefits, and then they'll run around and tell, again, I hate to say Republicans, but they'll tell the rest of us what we're doing wrong. And Kevin, if you haven't yet, you've got to read Pagan Threat. You, the staff, all your listeners, you got to read Pagan Threat. It will explain everything that's going on in the schools, school districts, and these furries. What?
Right.
WTF. That's all I can say.
Dana, great call, buddy. Thank you very much, and thanks for the kind words. I appreciate your sentiments quite a bit. Yeah, there's a lot of WTF with all this stuff. And I'm telling you right now, 2026 at the very top of my list is voter ID, voter fraud. It's so bold, brash, in your face that we're the Democrats and we're taking over. We want $389 million more for the school district, and you can only vote by mail. It's just such an affront to what is real and what's right and what's just. It's just awful. Just awful. They know what they're able to do. They can scam this thing any way they want. Do you know how many bad ballots they will mail out? People who have no right to vote are going to go out. Those are the people that are willing to go ahead and do it. Punishable by law. It says right on the ballot. I've seen it. I've looked at it. I'm like, well, what would be the problem here if I filled these out for my kids and sent them in? Punishable by law. Well, I'm radio boy, right? So I'm the guy that's going to get caught, and they may do something to. Have we ever done anything to anyone? We had a mayor of a small town in Kansas that was an illegal alien. He became mayor. Forget being able to vote. He's not even legal to be in the country. And he became the mayor of the town. Oh, man. We are not good at this. We are really not, and they really are. They spend all their time obsessing over things like this. We need $2,881 per person in Olathe for the schools. How are we going to do this? Oh, let's do a mail-in only ballot on March 3rd when everybody's on spring break or whatever. It's like, oh, my God. It's just crazy, the things that we do. All right, I wanted to touch on this thing. There's news out of the University of Missouri this week that they want to rename Faurot Field at Memorial Stadium. What they want to do is they want to put naming rights on it for a corporation and get, a couple $1 million a year, let's say, for that. So beyond the part that the money will be wasted, that whatever money they get by taking the name Memorial Stadium away, which memorial stadiums in this country were always named that for what? To remember the soldiers that died in the wars that built this country. So we're going to take that off. And Laird Veach, the AD at Missouri, says, well, we're going to work with veteran groups to honor veterans because we're going to probably take Memorial Stadium completely off this thing. So what are they going to call it? What, are they going to take Don Faurot's name off this thing? Is Faurot Field going away? I don't think so. I don't know. Look, here's the problem with sports facilities in America. If it has been something, there's no real changing it. The Chiefs had this silly Geehaw thing, right, at Arrowhead. It's Arrowhead to you and me. It's Kauffman Stadium to you and me. Before that, it was Royal Stadium. It was Kemper Arena. But then we built a downtown arena and named it Sprint Center. It never had another name. Now it's T-Mobile Center. But that's the only way you can do this. It is impossible to put these places that slap names on things. It just doesn't make sense when they're known as something else. It'd be pretty hard to call it State Farm Wrigley Field. You know what I mean? These things are difficult to do. So, Missouri, you got so much money in the SEC. If you make a couple $1 million more a year, here's the problem I have with guys like, I like Laird Veach. I've known him for a while. I don't know him well, but I've known him for years. And Eli Drinkwitz, who I respect great as a coach. You do these things, and what does it lead to? What's the reason to drive up revenue at these schools, really? Because most fans, sometimes they'll brag, oh, we make more money than your school. But that's really, I'd rather win more games than make more money. What's the point of driving up the revenue? The people who are behind driving up the revenue at these schools or the owners, like the Chiefs and Royals have owners, what's the point of that? They make more money. Athletic directors make more. Football coaches make more. Staff members make more. They all make more. If they drive revenue up, they all make more money. This is, I'm sorry, Laird, I'm not picking on you today. This is not a unique thing for Missouri in any way. They've just come up with this now, and they're going to do this. All right? Laird Veach knows that the more he drives up revenue at Missouri, the more money he's going to make in his career. No question about it. Whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing is irrelevant. But when you start saying we're doing this to modernize and take Missouri into the next level of college athletics, that's BS. Only your whales can do that. And they're apparently doing it because Missouri's buying players right and left. So you've got plenty of money coming in. You just don't have the money coming in that's easily movable into your athletic department budget. And if you go get this $2 million a year or whatever it is, you'll have that. I'm going to today implore, in any possible way that I can, Clark Hunt and John Sherman to name their new stadiums without a corporate sponsor. I know I'm spitting into the wind. It's not going to help. It's not going to happen. They're going to have corporate names slapped all over them. They're each going to make the Royals will make a fraction of what the Chiefs make, but they're going to get millions of dollars a year. We've given you enough. This is my line in the sand. I have no problem with supporting these teams. Did we spend too much? Maybe. Would they have stayed if we spent less? Probably. But I wanted to keep the teams. I was all for it. Let's do it. But this is where you say, no, that's too much. We've given you enough. You don't need to go make this. Because no matter how you slice it, that extra money that Clark Hunt gets for naming his stadium is going into his pocket. Because the revenues are going to be the same for the team, and the salary cap is going to be the same for the team. When he goes and sells the naming rights to that stadium, that's money in his pocket. It doesn't go anywhere else. That's just flat out profit for him. And it's the same thing with the Royals. And that, to me, I'm not the first one to jump on greedy owners. If I owned a business and I could play, public entities for billions of dollars to build my business, I'd do the same thing. It's not against the law. The politicians that we voted for are going right along with it. But, boy, it screams of greed. Like yesterday we talked about the Royals taking away half the dollar hot dog nights. It just screams that you're cheap. Don't take away the dollar hot dog nights. They took away like half of them this year. It just looks bad. It does. You've got plenty of money. That looks bad. I think it's going to look bad in these new stadiums. They took this much money if they don't name them something. I am hopeful that Clark will name the stadium something after his dad or Lamar Hunt Field at whatever, but I'm going to guess it's Field at corporate whatever. I'd love to have it, the easiest name, which is the best. They used to call this until this last year in Denver. Arrowhead West would be awesome. That would be cool. Or New Arrowhead or Arrowhead, Kansas, Arrowhead, Kansas, whatever. There's a lot of cool things they could do. I do think they should have all kinds of naming around these stadiums to honor the histories and traditions of our sports teams. But corporate names on them, it's not my thing, man. Every time I see it, I'm just like, that is one greedy owner. Did you know Arthur Blank, the guy that owns the Atlanta Falcons, sells the cheapest concessions in sports? It costs nothing when you go to a Falcons game to buy something to eat or drink.
I like that stadium model.
Yeah, he does it because he just knows you look like a greedy loser if you're charging $18 for a beer. You just probably shouldn't do it. All right, to the phones we go. Shonda is in Olathe. What's on your mind today, Shonda? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I have a stadium naming idea, and I'd like for it to be called the Kansas Residents Taxpayers Got Hosed Stadium.
Yeah,
So,
that's not going to...
we're going to get hosed again with the Olathe bond, but that's okay. We need to ask where the money's going. But appreciate you being on the air.
They already said it. They've already said it's going to declining enrollment. The school district has fewer students, so they need $389 million.
Yeah, I know, but we just did this in 22 for $293.
Vote no.
I think.
Let's vote. Let's start voting no.
I do. I never
Jackson
voted
County
for a
shut the
tax
Royals
raise.
down. Remember, Jackson County
That's
shut the
right.
Royals down. The Royals asked Jackson County for money. They said, hell no. It was almost 60%.
That's right.
Okay,
I
so
vote no
let's
on
start
that and
doing
any
that with
taxes.
schools. The schools have enough money.
That's
I'm
it.
sorry. I don't want to hear any more of your crocodile tears.
I agree with you. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, Shonda, thank you. Excellent call. Appreciate that. The stadium will never be named that. It might be cool if they called it the Kansas Coliseum or something like that. They're not going to do that either. It's not going to be that. It's just going to have a corporate name on it. And if they start with a corporate name, then it's just interchangeable. It's never anything else. It never becomes anything traditional, like Arrowhead or Kauffman Stadium or Allen Fieldhouse or Bill Snyder Family Stadium or Mizzou Arena or Sporting Park or any of these things. Once you just build something and you name it after a corporation, it's done. It's done. Sprint Center, T-Mobile. It never had anything else. So, but at least it's more tolerable when it never had anything else. I just would ask the Royals and Chiefs to come up with something a little bit better than that. That my biggest beef of the whole thing, honest to God, is the people in the media. I get it if you're ESPN and you're broadcasting the game and you're partners with the teams that you say the sponsor's name. I get that. Why do the local reporters in Kansas City refer to all of these things after? Why do they say GEHA Field at Arrowhead? If I saw one stand up, I saw a million at Arrowhead. Why does the reporter have any responsibility to say that on a live shot? None, zero. Like, you're not even real media if you're doing that. You shouldn't be doing it. You're never going to hear me call it that. It's Arrowhead Stadium. I don't care who their stupid sponsor is. By the way, that's government insurance, right? Oh, great. The Chiefs taking more government money. That's government health insurance, government employees, of which there are fewer government employees these days. Did you know with the numbers that came out today, the employment numbers, that year over year, a year ago, private jobs in January were down 75,000. They lost 75. This year, up 175,000. And government jobs last January were plus 28,000, still growing under Biden. And this year, they're down 47,000. Right now, today, as a percentage of the workforce in the United States of America, this is the most stunning stat you're going to hear today. This one will blow you away. In fact, I find it hard to believe. I find this impossible to believe, but it's true. As a percentage of the entire workforce in the United States of America today, government jobs are the lowest percentage they've been since 1966. That's Doge. That's helped. There's a whole bunch of people in the federal government with Trump derangement syndrome that quit. And they're retiring early, and they're walking away. Thank God for every one of them. Go take your pension and be done with it. But if you're a reporter in this town, and you're doing these live shots at these ballparks, and they've got, you're going to go down to the Mizzou's new stadium, call it Furrow Field. Call it Memorial Stadium. Don't call it Walmart, whatever they're going to name it. There's just no point in it. You're just adding fuel to their fire to do more of it. That's their business, not yours. You don't have to recognize any corporation name on any building when you're doing a sports story, that's for sure. That's where this stuff really ticks me off, is the way the media deal with it. And they just, they're going to give me free food before the game, and I get to sit right there on the 42-yard line. Oh, sure, I'll call it whatever you want me to. Ugh. We come back, we'll check in with Mark. We got some fun topics, including a French skier who had quite a little bit of trouble on the downhill. Well, let's just say he split P the gates on his way down. That's next on KCMO. Forget a scorecard. I'm going to need a separate computer to keep track of all the Americans trashing America while competing in the Olympics. The latest, a man from Minneapolis who's I guess he's a curler. If you're one of the curling athletes, Mark, are you a curler?
I believe so.
All right, he's a curler from Minnesota. He got the podium, was not asked about anything, said, I'm also a lawyer, and we have a constitution, and ICE is illegal, and, he just went off. I'm like, oh, boy. It's just one story after another. So I'm not going to mention his name or spend any time on it because I can't keep track of these. I'd much rather point out the funny Olympic stories. And this, sort of funny. There was a French skier, Mark, and I don't think you've seen the video yet. He's doing the downhill, and they go out the slalom thing in and out of those gates, right? Which are they're like, how do we describe these? Like fishing poles. They're flexible.
Yeah, and a lot of times they run into them when they're going around them, and still good.
It's okay to run into them. If you go inside of them, you're disqualified, or you're added time. You're not going to win. You can't do it. He misgauged, and one of the poles went right between his legs.
Oh, no.
I don't know how fast he's going. Really fast. And he went, and is just screaming down the mountain and turns sideways and stops. And the announcers didn't even hesitate. They're like, well, we know what happened there. His manhood just got ripped apart by that gate. I'm like, oh, my God. I've never seen that. This guy screamed like he was dying.
I bet that was so painful.
I can't even imagine. Nothing more painful than a Norwegian biathlete named Sterla Holm, who won the bronze and took to the microphone afterwards live on television and said, I made the mistake of my life. I cheated on my girlfriend 3 months ago, and I lost her. She's the only gold medal I want. Will you please take me back? Beg, 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 beg. That was about 36 hours ago he did that. Now they're asking this biathlete if he's heard from her. And he didn't say, I guess, but they've gotten a hold of her, and she said, we have had contact, and he knows my position. And it sounds like it didn't go very well because she's upset that she's been dragged into this thing. Can you imagine going on television after winning a medal saying, I cheated on my girlfriend, I want you back?
That's rough.
I don't know what to make of these Olympics. Is this generational? Is this just the younger athletes that all hell's broken loose? It's just really bizarre.
That might be.
There seems to be a lot of that. Do you know what the Obama button is?
No, I don't.
Right, I didn't either. I didn't know this term until today.
Is it like the Trump Coke button, Diet Coke button?
No, but it's similar. It's just a little round button. You may have one in your car. Now, do you want to take a shot at what it is?
The stop-start button?
That's exactly. Well, no, the one that makes it stop at the red light.
Oh, okay.
Not your on-off button. The one that you pull up to a red light, your car shuts off. Mm-hmm. Obama put that in. They call it the Obama button. Lee Zeldin has put up a post today, says there will be a big announcement this week about the Obama button. They're going away.
Okay.
I'd like to disable mine, and it's against the law to do, but I think it's about to not be against the law. Do you hate them? I can't be the only one that hates that.
I don't mind it, but it's just kind of a non-thing for me.
Non-thing? Okay, good. I like that. I'm ready to get rid of my Obama button. Indeed. The Vince Show's coming up next. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.